It's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're in the San Fernando Valley today. We are joined by Kathryn Barger. She is a nominee for the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Are we in your district, Chatsworth?
Yes.
We are in your district.
We are in the 5th.
Quite a district, quite a large district.
It's truly one of the greatest districts, in part because of the diversity.
Right.
It's the largest, about 2,900 square miles. But what makes it great is it is so diverse. I mean, the Antelope Valley, Santa Clarita, San Fernando, San Gabriel, East San Gabriel Valley, all with different needs. It's never a dull moment.
I want to talk about all those communities and the county in general. If we would have been speaking 5-7 years ago and we were talking about homelessness, we would not be talking about homelessness in the Antelope Valley or the San Gabriel Valley or the South Bay, not in your district but part of LA County. But today, the homeless population finds themselves everywhere. What are you seeing?
Well, you know, gone are the days where people associated homelessness with Skid Row.
Right.
It is throughout the county, and we've seen that in the numbers. And quite frankly, even the numbers we're seeing, there is no perfect way to count the number of homeless because a lot of them are invisible, especially up in the Antelope Valley, which there's so much desert that they are the invisible class up there.
But what we know about the numbers is the numbers are daunting. We are approaching 50,000 homeless folks in LA County, a county of 10 million. That's not an insignificant number, and it is so significant that we are now the homeless capital of the nation.
And that is true, but we're not the only region that's suffering with this. There was a great article about Portland, Oregon, with a lot of runaway youth. It is a daunting situation, but it's not insurmountable. We put together an initiative, and one of the first things we put on that initiative is preventing people from becoming homeless.
Right.
Because we know that the cost associated with getting them back into homes and off the streets is not only an emotional toll, but it's also a financial toll.
Part of the challenge is funding. It always is. And the colleagues or your potential future colleagues on the Board of Supervisors considered putting a series of measures on the ballot to fund homeless services. We got close, but it never happened. There's no LA County measure for homeless funding. The city of Los Angeles has a measure. Are you concerned about funding countywide?
Yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint of affordable housing. That is something that is going to come with a dollar amount attached.
Right.
In terms of county resources, first of all, the county cannot do this alone. We're going to have to work with all 88 cities, which actually, you know, I've received Mayor Eric Garcetti's endorsement.
Congratulations.
And LA City is one of the largest cities in the county, but also has one of the greatest number of homeless. So it's important to work together. But from the county standpoint, in terms of resources, we are looking at how we are allocating our resources and rethinking it. For example, urgent care centers for the mental health. That is a unique and unusual way of going about it. So rather than sending people to emergency rooms at hospitals, we're going to have urgent care centers where they can triage and determine whether they need to be hospitalized or link them with services, begin that relationship. It's important, but it's also not just about resources. It's about looking at our mental health laws, because if you really do look at the people on the street, a lot of them do have mental health issues. And you know, alcohol and drugs combined, but what we find is when we get them clean and sober, sometimes the mental health side starts to show. So it's a very complicated, but I really don't believe it's insurmountable.
You mentioned the mentally ill, and like you suggested, many facing homelessness are struggling with mental illness. This year, the state Senate spearheaded a reconfiguration of Prop $63, and now there is $2 billion available for permanent housing for the mentally ill. I'm not sure if counties need to apply for that funding or how the funding will work, but are you aware of how we can start to access some of that state money?
Yeah, and I mean, our mental health department has been very good about being front and center on these type of funding opportunities. And so we are aware and we are going to take advantage of that. Understand that people that have mental health challenges, it's not something that's cured. This is an ongoing situation for them. So it's important not only to get them into housing, but to ensure that there's a continuum of care. And one of the programs that I'm excited about is Mitch Katz, who's our Director of Health Services, is actually looking at how we make sure, especially for those, because in our jails right now, it is probably the largest mental health institution in the United States.
Did you see Lisa Ling's
Yeah,
CNN
I watched
series?
It was incredible. And my husband was a sheriff's deputy,
Right.
so I watched it with him. So I saw it both from my background handling mental health, but also from a law enforcement background because my husband worked in the jails. But what we're finding, what Mitch is doing is, Dr. Katz is looking at how do we ensure when they come into the jail and they leave the jail, there's a continuum of care and services, which is a huge thing.
And that series, that episode, it was a 1 hour episode. And
she's amazing.
She's a very talented journalist indeed. It really hit on this question of the mentally ill in our jails. And there were scenes that you saw where, I mean, these folks are really struggling. And look, the story suggested that LA County is working to address the mental health challenges. Do you feel as if what she presented was an accurate portrayal of what LA County is doing on the mental health side?
Yeah, I really think that was, she did a tremendous job. We do have challenges because we have a program that DA Jackie Lacey is putting into play with diversion, which really does take people that don't belong in jail, but belong in treatment, out of the jails and into treatment. But these individuals that are in our jails really do not qualify for diversion. These are people that need to be in jail. But we still need to provide the services that they deserve in order to keep them stable, especially as it relates to mental health.
At the same time, the LA County Jail, prior to AB 109, Prop 47, was really meant to be kind of a holding cell, if I can say that, for when the folks either were released or went to prison. Now we have county jails acting more as permanent housing for those that are serving sentences, but they're a bit overcrowded and some are being released pretty early. And so do you have time to to capture these folks that are facing mental health challenges and serving time in the county jails?
You're absolutely right. There was a time when county jail was really for a year or less. If you were sentenced to a year or less, you did it at county jail. Beyond that, you went to prison, to state prison, and then you were held prior to your trial if you couldn't post bail. And those times have changed. We've got people in there that are sentenced for double-digit years.
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that famous case of a drug dealer with enhancements.
And we're not equipped for that by any means. But as it relates to the mental health, we segregate them because they need to be carefully processed and handled. And they are in single cells, which creates a whole other dilemma because now we are releasing people, especially under AB 109, that probably should still be in jail. But because we don't have the space, because we are now taking two people cells and putting one individual in there.
But is Prop 47, which is reclassifying felonies to misdemeanors, helping with that pressure?
Well,
there are other ramifications, but...
if we could keep the ones that are being arrested, Prop 47 has made it basically a revolving door. It's a misdemeanor, they're cited and released. So Prop 47, I think, from the standpoint of what it's doing to the morale of law enforcement, because when you're citing and having someone released 67 times for drug possession and then burglary, it gets old. So that's a problem by itself, and it creates a whole different set of circumstances that relates to the spike in crime, the spike in burglaries taking place.
It's the lower level crimes.
Exactly, and the question is, those lower level crimes, at what point do they cross over and become greater? And we're seeing a trend there.
Her name is Kathryn Barger. She is a nominee for a seat on the Board of Supervisors in Los Angeles County. That election November 8th. My name is Brad Pomerance, coming to you from the San Fernando Valley on Local Edition.